The design for man is that it's a creature of prayer. And there is nothing like prayerless in the Bible. Nothing. Nothing. The opposite of prayerful is not prayerless. The opposite of prayerful is fainting. You see, if you are not operating according to design, if you are not praying always, it means you have found a way of existing, another way of existing, and that way is called fainting. You are on life support.
In John chapter 9 verse 1, we are now with Jesus. The Bible said, and as Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. Let's go on. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin? This man or his parents, that he was born blind? We'll stop there a little so that I give you some, because there's some hidden knowledge that produced that question. If you see a blind man, in our own cultural system, the question will be, how did he become blind? An accident, medical sometimes, a congenital condition. What happened? How did he become blind? They built their own concept of blindness into the breaking of a certain rule. So his blindness to them advertised as a punitive action, right? It becomes more complex when they said, this man, it means the blind man himself could have seen this way into blindness. Are you with me? So you will have felt that one day, maybe he was doing something, or was smoking weed, or was doing something, and his optical cells died, and they went off. Your confusion will be increased when you get to the last line, that he was born blind. So when did the man sin? In the womb? Because in the Jewish cultural system, they believe that, for example, if you were a thief in this life, they will check to see what gave you advantage as a thief. And if it was that if you stole, you could run fast. If you escaped punishment, you will come back again. When you come, you'll be crippled. You understand that kind of thing? You'll be crippled to pay for the sins of your old life. So maybe if you committed the sin of fornication, the foundation for that sin is lucre. May God give you understanding. It's eyes that you use to behold people. What they will do is take your eyes in the next life. It will have cured you from your old possibilities. Are you with me? So the disciples felt this man was reincarnated, and now he needed to pay for the sins that he committed in his past life, or that his parents committed a sin, and then God decided to smite them by giving them a liability. Next verse. Next verse. Jesus answered, neither had this man sinned, nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. What Jesus was saying was that when they were allocating body parts, they consciously withdrew seeing eyes from this man. It was a deliberate act. You see, knowing God is, that's why you need the Spirit of God. That's 1 Corinthians 2, right? That nobody knows what is in a man like the spirit of that man. In the same way, no man knows the things of God like the Spirit of God. You will need him to help you interpret events. If not, you will always miss. It's like the friends of Job. They were masters. Their assignment was, they were like freelance philosophers. Somebody starts business today, and after 1 year, the business closes. And then he starts another business, and after another 1 year, they close. They don't need to call a prophet. They'll just summon Job's friends. When they sit, they'll look at the situation, look at it on all sides, and they'll begin to cast news as to the source of the situation. But when they came to Job, they sat down for a few days, and what they produced was confused talk. A young man heard them out for days and had to say, this your gray hairs, we thought it meant wisdom. Your length of days was supposed to be understanding, but that there is a spirit in man, and until God breathes upon that spirit, that man does not have understanding. But that the works of God should be made manifest. I'm not trying to speak about the works of God. The picture I'm trying to give is that your perception will operate with a fracture until you are proximate to the Lord. It is closeness to Jesus that brings to you the absolutes of every situation. Remember, my topic is metaphors of the Ephraim church. I'm using that background, just like the first verse that I used, that you will not know God, you will not be able to lay hold on his perspectives about a situation until you can hack his heart. For his true position is built into how he thinks in his heart, not essentially what he does with his hands. Jesus could have gone directly to heal this man without revealing this hind knowledge. But now the understanding of the disciples have widened to know that this kind of thing does not always happen by sin. They are reserved cases for the miraculous. Give back to him like that. When he arrives, the day one of the sons of God are sent, then that person becomes a specimen. It means that the long stay of that person's affliction may be built into the non-emergence of a son. Okay, you missed me. I know the sun is much now, so if you don't drink plenty water, you'll be very tired when you come to church. You know I said it before. Whisper to your neighbor, drink water, drink water. You need to be fresh. I'm saying that there are certain things in certain communities. They've been there. They were there when the people came together. It was to await the coming of a son. That will be your sign when you come there. It is by the taking away of that thing that people will embrace your God. But if you don't imagine the shape of a solution, it means that whilst you are yet alive, that their issue will still be permanent. God's work that was designed to be manifest will not be manifest because God will not come down to do it himself. He will need a man through whom he will administer it. Our point is that one of the realities that you begin to experience when you are with Jesus is that you operate with superior perspectives, and they are actually the perspectives of the Christ. You know what it is. They say what you see is not what you get. It's not when you are with Jesus. What he reveals to you is what the real matter is. People may think that the life is advancing. When you hear from him, he may tell you this is the true definition of retrogression. It's possible that a man becomes large. Who was sharing that story with us? Was he here? Somebody was talking about a minister who... Somebody saw a big minister. Is he here? But the minister was in the village. Was he here? Who was discussing it? Oh, my wife. Your words are in my heart. So, they saw a very strong minister, but the minister was not visible. The man was in the village. And they were wondering, So when that individual now met the person, now said, Kai, this man is not supposed to be hidden. How can he be this strong and not be visible? And then the Lord was bringing perspective that his will for that man is that he's where he is. If you bring that man out and you take him to Lagos, you know there are people who see that you are strong and that they can say, come to Lagos, they'll just rent hall for you. And there'll be a sharing formula later. They don't start with it. But they just want to help your ministry. When that man arrives in Lagos, what will you call it? Meanwhile, they can retain the ministry in the village It's just that the one in Lagos is the international headquarters. That's the permanent site. The village one is the local expression. I'm saying that you will think that his life is advancing. Until you come to Jesus, you will not be able to peep into the man's books. And the books may reveal that the journey to Lagos that looked like an upward journey was actually a downward journey. Until you come to him, you don't know what advancement and retrogression means. You don't know. I'm saying all of this to make us understand that as the church of Jesus, until you have the audience of the Lord, you really don't know what the state of the church is. And when I speak of the audience of the Lord, it's not just God bellowing out instructions to you. When you sit with scriptures, there is a light that begins to help you judge what the true state is. There are issues that you can begin to noise, and then some people begin to speak against it. And these days, I don't even have time for those things, because I found out that what every man sees is built into the reality of his allocated lenses. Until we see equally, an argument is not necessary. Are you with me? So, if I come to a place, for example, and I say, well, foundationally, I believe that Jesus is Lord. And the minister says to me, here, we believe that our senior pastor, our GO is Lord. There's nothing to preach. Are you with me? There's nothing to preach. If they start an argument, there's no common ground. And so common ground are lenses. If you believe that, like our brother said tonight, that glory is that it shines. And looking at the life of Jesus from Philippians chapter 2, you see diminishing reality. Are you with me? But you see, even in the diminishing reality, there was a knowing that there was a glory that he carried, not as the son of Joseph, but as the only begotten. That was John's testimony. What Philippians defined, taking upon himself the form of a servant, it was in that shape that John saw him, and the testimony of John was still, we beheld this glory, and it does not look like any of our prophets. It didn't have the shine, but the substance was still there. Are you with me?
How can you run when you don't know the way of the Spirit?